Hey, it's Carolyn Brown here. I'm a career coach and the founder of the Straight to Shortlist Challenge, and welcome back to my channel. Today, I'm absolutely delighted to be welcoming back to the Career Care Package couch the co-founder of this show, Naishadh Gadani. Now, Naish has just compiled and published a wonderful book. It's called The Big Book of Career Doodles, 87 Visual Ideas to Inspire a Great Career. Now, if you've ever found yourself stuck in a job or a career that doesn't suit you, this book is a wonderful tool to help you get unstuck. It'll help you gain clarity and insight about what you could do next. And after being inspired by the book, you may see yourself in a completely different way. Now, in this video, Naish and I talk about what inspired him to write the book, some suggestions on how you could use the book, some of the lessons from the book, and then we go and unpack one of his most popular doodles. I'll put a link to the book in the description below so you can go and buy it. And let's get started. So Naish, thanks so much for coming back into the Career Care Package studio. I know a lot of people really want to thank you for doing the book.
I think what people can expect from this one is more kind of different thinking on careers, or getting some inspiration on some tricky situations that we face in our career, or getting a new perspective on career in a very short period of time, or swiftly they are able to get some perspective. I can share a quick story with you that what
absolutely.
difference it makes.
Yeah.
I was just last weekend, I was at a friend's, anniversary party and sitting with someone that did not know much about what I do. And then he asked a question after, gulping 3 to 4 glasses of wine himself. He said, "Tell me, Naishadh, what exactly do you do?" And I said, "I'm a careers counselor." So he understood that. And I said, "But I also, draw, and I am a doodler and I sketch." And he said, "What do you mean by doodling?" And rather than explaining it, I just opened up some of the pictures and I said, "This is what I do. I try to make concepts of career in particular, make easy for people to understand so that they can take action on it." And I opened up some of them, and he saw one particular doodle, which was the dig your calling. And 10 seconds, he said, "Wow, this makes sense." And I said, "If I tell you the same thing in 1,000 words, or probably write a half a book, what would you prefer?" And he said, "This is fantastic. This makes so much sense. It's so easy." And that too in kind of an intoxicated state too, right?
I doubt it.
Yeah. But my point is that we all love something that makes it simpler for us. I don't think so that people will, create massive action straight away, but it stays with us. That particular thing stays with us. We as we remember quotes from other people that who have said things, it stays with us. That's what I feel, that these sketches stay with you. And the more that you reflect on it and it stays with you, the more the chances that you will take some action about it.
It's really interesting because, there are a lot of career books around, right? And they are full of words which you read and you remember little bits. But we forget in the work that we do that visuals are so powerful. People process images a lot more quickly than they process words, and it resonates with people. So people do get quickly that aha moment. And the other thing I think, again, think, but there's lots of ideas that can exist at the same time, right? And if they're in words, I think you process them in a linear way, but you can have things that can be different but equally true, and you can see that in a doodle, in those doodles.
That's correct. And I guess that there is no one or the other way to process those images, Caroline, because as you read the book, you would appreciate the richness of people's reflection on it just itself, because I can see 2 particular sketches. And I know we are going to talk about one sketch, but 2 particular sketch which talk similar things, which is about squiggly career, that we expect a career to be more an escalator ride, but it eventually becomes more like a roller coaster ride. And the other one where I share my own career journey in a visual form, both of them written by different people. And you can see the reflections are starkly different. They may still communicate the same message,
Mm,
but their reflections and the way they were approaching it was different. I
mm,
think that's the power of it, that we see images, but we see that images the way we want to see it, or
mm,
we see that as our career is.
mm,
And I think that's what makes this really, really interesting.
mm,
And secondly, I've always, I always equate this to also listening to radio. Listening to radio is a kind of, when you're driving your car and, as if that person is talking to you. There's nobody else that he or she is talking
mm,
to. And I feel that those images does the same thing. It talks to you
mm,
and just for you, as if that they are meant just for you.
mm,
How do you see that? And the third thing is they're gentle. They are not
mm,
shouting over and say asking you to know that if you don't dig your calling, you're doomed. We're not
mm,
saying that. He's just saying that, look, this is one way of looking at it. And it kind of gently nudges people to
mm,
to think differently. So there are two particular audiences in mind when
mm,
I was doing it. One is for career practitioner like yourself and myself. That people, they can use as a resource to enhance their coaching practice, or helping clients understand, about a particular concept. And I've used that in my practice. And I was at the University of Melbourne. I would pick up a particular sketch and say, okay, let's focus on this one, and try to change the way you look for work, or let's look at your resume and put this in perspective. And it immediately made a difference.
mm,
So that's one audience. The second audience is professionals, people who care about their own career. And I think, well, how do I want them to use the book is to pick a particular sketch, pick up doodle, and say, I'm going to just reflect on this just for today or next week
mm,
or so, and let's see what happens. Let that doodle take over your thinking,
mm,
because the power is in the reflections that you do, and keep that into perspective and see what changes for you.
mm,
That's what I want people to use it. I don't want people to take that as gospel.
mm,
At the same time, this is one way of looking at what our career could be,
mm,
and keeping that into background while you are engaging in career conversations with your manager, with your colleagues, or just going about your career day to day.
mm, mm,
Keep that into background. I think that's what I want people to take on. And as you've seen the book, I have also asked people to reflect on particular sketches too. So there are
mm.
questions that I have asked, which wasn't planned, but just as you go along, you create the book and you kind of figure out that, oh, maybe that's necessary. So
Mm,
actually, people can actually reflect on those doodles or sketches
mm.
through those gentle questions as well.
I think it's really interesting because you have created this big community around the world, right? There's people in the States, in the UK, in India, New Zealand, and Australia. I think might be a couple other places, but it's also created, I guess, more of a movement, right? So you're getting those people, those career practitioners who are in the book, to actually think differently about how they will have conversations with their clients as well. So in terms of actually bringing people in to contribute to the book, was that a deliberate thing, or was that kind of an organic thing, creating that community?
Yeah, so the two aspects. So one is that I don't like to write. So that was
You don't
one.
like to write. Well,
Yeah,
we
I don't
both
like to
know that.
write. Okay. No, I don't like to write unless ChatGPT arrived. No.
Yes.
Secondly, is that I felt that I've done the biggest thing is creating these sketches. At the same time, I saw a lot of people were engaging into that. I remember when we were doing the live shows, Caroline. I think I started back in around July or August of that year, I know.
Mm.
And I would draw things which kind of alludes to the show or the topic on that. And then eventually I moved on from there and started to create, the things completely, distinct. And when I started to post, a lot of people started to engage, and I saw that the same kind of people started to engage with me, and they would love that. And some of the people commented, "Oh, can I use that with my client?" So that's
Mm.
how it started. Actually, it wasn't. I never thought about creating a resource or creating a book, honestly, but that's how it started. And then last year, I actually found that a LinkedIn conversation that I had with one of our good friends, Amanda McHugh,
Mm.
and she commented that, "Are you turning that into a resource?" And I said, "How do you read my mind?" Actually, that was the time where I said, "You know what? That's like I've never thought of that, and maybe there is an opportunity." And that's how it started
Mm.
to kind of roll on from them, is to go to people who have engaged with it and
Mm.
people who enjoyed this kind of sketches, and they find some value. That's how I started to reach out to them. So it wasn't the end wasn't decided when I started. I think, as it happens in most of the cases, Caroline, that you kind of continue to do it, and then organically
Mm.
something happens out of it. So this was completely organic process,
Mm.
which I could not have imagined when I started to draw things.
So I'm thinking, coffee cups, t-shirts, Christmas cards, world domination posters, billboards, there's a huge, huge way to actually get the message across. But I guess the question I know that a lot of people want to ask
Mm,
you is, how do you do it every day? Like,
mm.
do you, what's the creative process for coming up with a doodle?
Yeah. So I think, I can probably give an example of any artist or anybody who's engaged into their work. And I'm sure, Caroline, when you go out for your, morning, walks and swims, things come to you. You're not there seeking things, as if those things seek you out and say, "You
Mm.
know what, I'm really interested. I want to talk to you." I think the more you are engaged into work, the more you can start to see the patterns and
Mm.
the way you start to see things, right? So I don't, obviously, I'm, as a matter of fact, I would always have 3, 4 ideas that I'm working on,
Mm.
but they are not kind of, formulated. But sometimes some idea can come immediately in half an hour. I've got something ready to share with people. So if I go back, that if I'm engaged into a process, I'm thinking about it, and I see a particular pattern, or I see a thing, or I see light, or if I see a pen holder and my eyes go, okay, so pen holder, and pen holder as a career,
Mm.
what does a career hold? Okay, so
Mm.
pen holder can have different pens, what each pen can do. So you've got a pencil which can be erased, but you've got a marker which cannot be erased. So what does a marker represent in our career?
Mm.
What does a pencil, what does an eraser represent in our career?
Mm.
So that's how it kind of starts. The drawing part is the most easiest one, because
Mm.
I can go and look at some drawings on internet and say, okay, this is what I like, and I can use them as a basis of that. That's particularly easy. The difficult part is to connect that.
Mm.
Difficult part is to come up with the communication of it. That what do I want to unpack here? What do I want to make it simpler and easier for people to
Mm.
understand?
Mm.
I can never tell you when it strikes, which happens with all of us. It's not particularly just me, Caroline.
Mm.
I can give you one example. I think I sent you that rough sketch as well. I was playing. I don't play pool at all, but we went to Fiji with family, and I was playing the pool, and pools kind of, you can go everywhere else. So if you can't solve, or you can't use the cue ball with a particular angle, you can change the angle.
Mm.
And that gave me an idea that when you think about a problem, if you change the way you are seeing the problem, there might be a solution.
Mm.
So I kind of come up with those ones. So hopefully not given a convoluted answer, but
No,
that's
it's okay. I
my
think
process.
that
Yeah.
creative process is really it does strike you anywhere. And you might be at McDonald's and rearrange the lettuce in your Big Mac type thing, or just look at the burger and go, well, that actually represents, such and such. Let's take a look at the doodle that you shared on career progression. How did this come to you, and why did you draw it like this?
So one of the things that I try to do is to make things simpler for people. So there are various ways that you can show progress. You can show progress in plants, for example, right? That, some plants are growing and some aren't growing. I wanted it to be easily understood. When I say progress, it's easy to understand it's going this way, it's going vertically up. So that's why I use that, kind of line drawings here to make it easy for people, right? And I deliberately did not put progress as, career progress, because we are talking about just everything else. It's not distinct. This happens in our everywhere else as well. So that's why I've used that. And now if you see, obviously there are red color, which is particularly which we feel that this color represents something is off. Yellow is the color of optimism. So that's like you're moving forward with with power and with optimism. So that's why I've chosen that. Obviously the particular what we say, the line drawing and everything, it's just everything. I just draw it. Wanted to make sure that I cover both of them, both the aspect of that. So that's why it's very simple.
Yeah. So to me, it's like, both up and down are progress. But I think a lot of people focus on the up being good and the down being bad. But are you trying to get across, and again, this is interpretation, that both up and down
it's
are
progress
to wherever you want to go? How do you know when you're on the up? Like, what are the signals that you're on the up curve? Which is where I think a lot of people feel really good. Like there's lessons in both the up and the down, totally, but most people would aspire to be on the up even when they're on the down. So what are the indications that in somebody's, say, career, for example, that they're on the upward trajectory where perhaps they would like to be?
Yeah, I think one of the things is that you feel that instinctively that things are going as you thought it would go. Maybe you are getting the kind of projects that you always envisioned, that you are getting it. Maybe you are kind of connecting with people that you always wanted to connect with. Maybe you're getting recognition that you always wanted to get the recognition. So I think it's more to do with how you feel about where your career is rather than anything else. It's more of for you to more for you to feel about it, and where you get a sense of where you are in your career rather than anything else. Some people, for example, might get $150,000 and they still think that they are in red because they expected it to be $200,000 salary. And some people might be, $70,000 bingo. I didn't even expect to get that much in my first job, and now I got that one. So I think that's what I feel. I think we instinctively know that we are making progress in our career or not. Obviously, everybody's going to, have a different definition and parameters on what progress means to them, and that's fine. That's not particularly I'm interested in in debating it. My focus is through this one, is that in each of those experiences, there's progress and there's learning out of it. And that's what I intended to achieve.
People say that you learn much more from adversity than you do from the wins, so to speak. But I think you learn that from the reflection about adversity versus experiencing that and just staying in that. But I like this because it shows that equal and opposite, but it's all basic learning. And for me, like, I look at the up curve, when you say, like, it's a felt sense, but it's a felt sense of having some satisfaction that you've contributed something at the end of the day, and you feel good about that. There's an absence of overwhelming anxiety, you know, that you can go into that state of flow and really enjoy what you're doing and lose that sense of time. So, but for people that are feeling the darker or the red, what would you suggest to keep them moving along that line?
I think, and I'm pretty sure that we all have been to dark places. Not physically, but also metaphorically too. We've all been onto those places. One of the things that always works is action. Now I know it sounds, so when I say action, I'm not talking about kind of huge, massive actions, but small, like a very, 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 very tiny action too. I can equate this to driving in fog, for example. We've all driven in fog, and if you've lived in Melbourne, obviously, you would have driven in fog. Driving in fog, you don't wait for the fog to disappear. You move to the next 20 meters or next 25 meters, and then next 25 meters, and then next 25 meters. That's what you do. If you wait for the fog to disappear, well, it's possible. If you're not competent, if you're not feeling good about it, obviously you don't want to drive through that, because that might cause some other challenges. But if you feel that, no, I can drive for 20 meters, do that, because by the time the fog disappears, you have traveled a distance and you've arrived closer to where you want to go to. And that's what I feel that's necessary. Taking even the tiniest action, not even big action. That's what kind of helps you to kind of steer through the fog. Now, remember, fog is an external thing. You have no control over it. It might stay around till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You can't do that. But what's in your control is to move 20 meters to 25 meters, or to pause for a break and then again go there, right? And that's what I meant. That's what I think. And that's also a progress, right? That you're steering through the fog and you're achieving, you're getting closer to where you want to go to. So that's what I suggest people to do when they feel that way.
Your brain starts to fire in different ways, I think. And the size of the fear is bigger in the imagination than actually in the reality. That movement idea actually really helps. Even a step back in the wrong direction is still a learning opportunity. It's a step. Well. So,
yeah, Carol, and I've spoken about that book. It's by Herminia Ibarra. And she talks about a period specifically in the career transition or career change phase that you don't want to be here, but you don't know where to go. So there's a lull period. There's a period where there's complete vacuum. In order for you to get where you want to go to is to go and do something just completely unconventional. Maybe to go and do a poetry class. Engage into something very, very divergent or very, very different. Because what it allows you to do is to cause those happy accidents or kickstart your brain, or suddenly you are able to see two things connected which you did not see that before. And I really like that those thinking that it's okay. You don't wait for the right idea or the right step to arrive. You trial and error. And you can take smaller ones if you don't want to go big, unless you got financially so secure that you can take a big step. Otherwise, you can take small side steps to, to test out few things or put yourself into situations where you previously did not.
It's really funny. I was just reflecting as you were talking, when I left the corporate world, one of the reasons I left was that my job actually had no meaning. Like no meaning to me, but no meaning to the organization as well. And I didn't realize how much I was longing to have something that I do contribute to something. So I went and volunteered. So, doing voluntary work is one way to test out and try out ideas. But I went to the extreme, right? I went and volunteered with asylum seekers, helping them find jobs.
Mm.
And from going from something that had no meaning and it was a real chore to turn up every day to being completely absorbed in, I started off helping them find jobs, but I ended up involved in presenting cases to the minister and legal cases. And it was actually for a lot of people, a life and death thing.
Agree.
I didn't realize that actually, I found, even though I wasn't paid for it, I was completely engaged in that process of working. And I focused a lot more on that than I actually did to my reason for leaving, which was to start my own business, but all part of that journey as well. So it's a great way to just get involved, but then observe yourself, take an external view of yourself, actually getting involved. One last question about this doodle, because I think people can put whatever spin they want on it, and also, hopefully people that are watching this can see how it can prompt conversation or reflection. You made that line between the progress and the yellow and the red, the up and the down, a flat line. And most people would think that progress or a journey is, striving towards something that is on a gradient. Any reason that you did that?
No reason. I think I wanted to have a symmetry kind of things, and that baseline is not showing anything else. What it shows is a ground right now.
Yeah.
So consider that as a ground, and you're going up, and then you're kind of going down, and then you're going up, and you're going down. So it's got no other meaning apart from that. When it's completely flat, that means you're either retired or you're done for the day, or you don't want to go back to work anymore. So so that's what it means. It's got no other meaning. But if I draw it that way, that will make everything look really different.
So this is kind of like it's in balance, right?
Balance, that's correct. Yeah,
absolutely. Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing the book with me.
Pleasure.
And many, many people. Where can people find it?
Yes, so currently you can just go to amazon.com and just put in Big Book of Career Doodles and you'll find it there.
Fantastic. And I'll put a link to that in
Please.
the description below.